the Turnbuckle Tavern's YouTube page. Today we're going to be talking about AEW filing for the trademark for Blood Brothers and what that could possibly mean. But before we get into that, make sure you guys click on the link in the description below. Subscribe to the YouTube page. That link's going to take you to our Pro Wrestling Tees store, our Twitter, and our Instagram. And it's also going to take you to the podcast page where you can rate, subscribe, and review. Make sure you guys click on the link or click on the bell so you can get notifications when we come back at you with more videos. But we're going to go ahead and get into the Blood Brothers trademark filing. Now, is that a match? Is that a team? What do you think what is that?
To me, just hearing the phrase, it sounds like a tag team.
That's what I thought.
But then when you get into the nitty-gritty of the filing, I guess AEW, the promotion, filed for the term Blood Brothers on September 15th, okay? Now, within that, the full description states that it is for entertainment in the nature of wrestling contests, wrestling exhibits, and performances by professional wrestlers. So to me, that it kind of sounds like a match.
It does. And kind of have a possibility for what it could be.
Okay.
And I don't know, but I feel like it's going to have something to do with Matt Hardy and Sammy Guevara.
Matt Hardy and Sammy Guevara?
That's what I think. That's the only thing I can think of. I can't think because they didn't get to finish that match. They both, he opened him up. There was a lot of blood. Didn't Hardy open him up?
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's just kind of where my mind initially went to. But again, it could be anything.
That makes sense. Blood Brothers, they both busted each other open. Some sort of match, the Blood Brothers match. I guess it could go there. There's also, they hint, this is a stretch, but they hinted at Penta and Phoenix kind of having issues. If they were to break them loose, you've got two brothers going at it.
Oh yeah.
That's really the only, as far as if you're setting up a match with the term Blood Brothers, that's the only two things I could think of. Obviously we go Dustin and Cody, but we've seen that. That's not going to happen again.
Yeah, I don't think that's that. I don't think that's it. I didn't even think about Penta and Phoenix, but
that could be. Is it a for sure thing that it's going to be a match?
No. The wording in that description doesn't. It could be the performance of wrestlers, not in the performance of a match, but the performance of themselves as a tag team.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm trying. Is there anyone you see right now who could go under that moniker of Blood Brothers as a team?
I don't see. I can't think of anybody coming as Blood Brothers.
And this is one of those things it shows you that there's long-term booking involved. They've obviously got this idea that we have no idea about, and they're already putting, lining their ducks up in a row, getting everything prepared, and we're going to see something unfold that leads to the use of this name. Because if you remember, months and months before they scheduled the match that never happened, Vince came out and on a press conference call or on a conference call with investors and things, and pretty much disparaged AEW as, we don't do that blood and guts.
Right.
So AEW instantly goes out, trademarks the term blood and guts, and then months later they have a plan to do a War Games type of match called Blood and Guts. So they're always looking for ways to, watching these two companies go back and forth since its inception has been a war of trademarks.
Yeah, and that was my next question to you. How do you feel about the fact that we can see the trademark filings that they're doing, and that those are coming to news sources, and we're able to see that?
It's fun when you're a fan like we are that devours every little thing. It gets the gears in your head turning, like, oh, what's that mean? What's that mean? So that aspect of it is fun. Now, the old school fan in me that yearns for the days of kayfabe, it's like, Jim Cornette sees stuff like that, he's rolling over. He's
right.
like, it's like, man, they're just giving away all their secrets, like it's right in the press. But it's a modern day, got to change with the times. I think it's fun to sit and kind of bat things back and forth and wonder what they have up their sleeve.
Well, I think that too, because without that, we wouldn't even have this video.
Right. We wouldn't have this discussion. So it just shows you, like, there are those wrestling fans who just like the wrestling, but I think the diehards dive in as much on the behind the scenes politics and the political moves between companies. That's where the real interest lies in for me. Like,
oh yeah,
I love the in-ring product, but it's the behind the scenes stuff that keeps it interesting for the long-term hardcore adult fan.
Exactly. Well, I mean, when you've been fans for as long as what we've been, you're going to eventually go out of the ring and into the back.
Yeah, you want to hear those stories that no one hears. That's why I think Conrad Thompson has built an empire, a podcast empire, talking to the likes of Bruce Pritchard, Arn, Eric Bischoff, all of these guys. It's because they're telling stories that's never been told, and hardcore fans want to hear those stories.
Yeah, and the four people that he had before, so he had Bruce, he had Bruce, Tony, Eric, and JR. And then, I mean, when he rounded it out with Arn Anderson, I never thought I would hear Arn Anderson on a podcast.
No, I never heard that he would have those stories. And it just shows you that you would think that he's oversaturating. Like a person who's not as much into the fan base of wrestling would say that's too much. He's oversaturating the market. That just shows you the appetite that hardcore wrestling fans have for content like that.
Well, the hardcore wrestling fans are going to know that you're going to get Eric for WCW. You're going to get Bruce for WWF. You're going to get JR and Tony for JR for everything.
Right.
Tony for WCW.
Right. He covers the history of wrestling across his five, and from different perspectives. You've got the Eric, who has a totally different perspective of how wrestling was. He was the corporate guy, and then you've got Arn. But yeah, talking about the behind the scenes, and that is what makes it very, very interesting for me as an adult hardcore wrestling fan. And back to your original question, I love that we see these trademarks. It gets the minds wonder. It's kind of like when you follow a show and you're, say, Game of Thrones when it was on, and you knew the season ended and you knew they were filming the second season, and you see some on-set photo of this new character and you're like, oh shit, who's this guy? What's he doing? How's he play into the story? It's that same type of thing with pro wrestling.
And it's even like the feeling like we knew FTR was going to show up in AEW.
Right. How do they show up?
How do they show up? When do they show up? And when they showed up, it was a
shock.
It was a complete shock. Even though we knew, it was still a complete shock.
Exactly.
All right, guys. Well, leave a comment in the comment section below. Let us know what you think Blood Brothers is. Is it going to be a match? Is it going to be a tag team? And how do you think it plays out? Again, click the bell up in the corner so you get notifications, and subscribe to the YouTube page, and we'll see you guys soon.